let's talk about the collaboration. I have some slides. Sort of explain some concepts, and then we'll see a demonstration with some code, some running code, and some systems, and get into how these things work and what to look out for. By collaboration, I mean any and all communication between the microservices. We just saw that a microservice exposes its functionality through an API that other services can access, and that's meant in a broad sense, an API. So that could be like an HTTP API, it could be gRPC endpoints, it could be like GraphQL endpoint. Those are all sort of pretty much what we probably also think about as APIs, or remote APIs at least. But it could also be messages sent on a queue, or events sent on a queue is probably more how I like to think about it. Is that an API? Well, it's not maybe always what we think about as an API, but it's still something that the service exposes, and which is part of this collaboration. So in that sense, yeah, it is, and it's definitely part of the communication between the microservices if we base part of it on queues, which we'll do in the example that we'll look at tonight. I guess I've already alluded to this, that there are different styles of collaboration. It's not all exactly the same, and I think it's helpful to think about 3 different styles of collaboration between microservices, because that just categorizes what's going on and enables you to think more clearly about, given that you have 2 different microservices, how do we want them to collaborate, and what's the pros and cons of that, and how should we actually implement that. So there's commands, do stuff kind of things, one microservice telling another microservice to go do something. Place the order, create the user, those kinds of things are commands. Then there's queries. What's the address of the user? Is this email registered to any user? Has the order been invoiced? Those are queries. So that's again something that one microservice can ask another one. I'll get an answer back. So you can query stuff like that. And then the last one, the most interesting one really, so maybe it shouldn't have been last, but it is, events, which informs the rest of the system that something has happened in the past tense. It's already done. The order has been placed. The user has been registered. The user home address has been updated. The order was invoiced. Those kinds of things are things that has happened. And as it turns out, if we can make much of what's going on between the microservices happen with this collaboration style, we have some benefits in terms of lowering the coupling and raising the robustness of the entire system that we have. And there's also some scalability issues, because we can sort of even out the load, so we don't have as many peaks throughout the entire system, but can keep the peaks maybe at the edge of the system. So there's some good things there, and I'm definitely not the first to say this. So that's really not that new. At the same time, I think actually there is kind of a shift for many people still in really thinking about events, and really sort of realizing how much you can actually do with that. So today we'll just sort of get a taste of how that looks, and how we can actually set part of that collaboration up, and that should at least point you in the right direction. So let's sort of get into an example. This one is also taken from the microservices book. It's one of the examples used in there, and it's one that I do like to use in talks as well, because it's somewhat approachable and still demonstrates a lot of things. So at the center there we have this loyalty program microservice, and now we can imagine this is a backend for a chain of stores, and they have a loyalty program. So I don't know. This could be I don't know, some kind of store, and they hand out these little plastic cards to members of that loyalty program. And each time you buy something at the store, you get some loyalty points, and those loyalty points can then be used for different things at different points in time. There's many ways to sort of set up that kind of loyalty program. It can be that once you reach a certain level, you just get a rebate. You get 1% off or something, or you may be in another place. It might be that you're invited to special events, night opening at the store, or they invite you to go to the movies or something. They just do something for their loyal customers. So this loyalty program microservice sits right there in the middle on this picture, because we're focusing on that one. There's some other microservices around it that play some other different roles, and the ones that we're going to look at in conjunction with the loyalty program during this talk is the one in the top left hand corner, the special offers microservice, and then the one in the bottom right hand corner, the notifications microservice. And then we also have a couple of other ones, mostly to show that there can be connections to a number of different microservices, and this shows that there is usually a lot of collaboration going on in order to make stuff happen. Now, we have the special offers one up here, and that's a microservice that handles the creation and, well, I guess management of special offers. So like when the business decides that during this weekend we want get 3, only pay for 2 kind of offer, but maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe it's only for qualifying members of the loyalty program, or maybe it is for everybody, but we also want to we want to send out notifications to the ones that might be interested in that. So we'll look at the product category of those products in the special offer. We'll do that down here in the loyalty program microservice, and then find the users that we think the offer is relevant for and send them a notification using the notifications microservice. And already here we're going to have a few different styles of collaboration going on. It says subscribe to events here between the loyalty program microservice and the special offers microservice, because this is an example where we can use that past tense of things. We don't actually have to send a command or something like that from the special offers microservice to the loyalty program microservice. We can just have the special offers microservice announced to the world being the rest of this backend system here, but just announce that a new special offer has been created. Okay, that's fine. Then the special offer doesn't have to even know that loyalty program subscribes to those events. That's just something loyalty program knows. It knows that, okay, I'm actually interested in special offers because I want to match them to all the users for whom I deem that it's relevant, and then I need to make a notification. Now, the way that this is drawn up and the way we're going to program it here is that the loyalty program sends a command to the notification service telling it to notify this user. So we're going to identify a user as a special offer, and then go to the notification microservice and say send a notification. So that's a command. That's sort of one way to do this, and it's okay, it's fine. We could actually also turn that around, and I just want to for the demonstration of how we implement the different styles, I'm going to keep it like it is on the drawing, but I also want you sort of to think about that we can choose between these different styles of collaboration. We could have done it differently. We could also have done some eventing, because we could also have said, okay, there's a special offer, and we have identified the loyalty program users who are eligible and likely to be interested. So you could see that as the loyalty program maybe publishing events along the lines of informing that good leads have been identified actually for who might react to the special offer and actually buy something. Then whatever happens to that could be the responsibility of somewhere else. So we just publish that from the loyalty program, subscribe to those events in the notification service, and then that decided, well, what does this mean? Did we just send an email to this person 5 minutes ago? Then maybe we skip this one. Maybe here's somebody that hasn't gotten an email from us in a month, so we definitely send it. Or here's somebody that we know never from our tracking that they never open their emails, so let's send them a text message instead. There's all different things that could go on, and that could be within the domain of the notifications microservice, and that could make those decisions. So we split out the responsibility, but the end goal is really that we can have somebody in the business go into a back office tool, create a special offer, and have relevant users notified about it without really spamming it. The special offers are handled in the special offer microservice. The loyalty program users are identified in the loyalty program, and the notifications are sent from the notification microservice. And then we can set up the collaboration in different ways. Here we're just going to stick with the command, but as you see, oftentimes actually if we put our minds to it, we can turn the collaboration around and make it more event-based. And we'll get back to some of the benefits of doing that. Lastly, we're not really going to look at the API gateway that we have down here, but that is meant as the gateway to the outside world. So how do loyalty program members actually get registered? So somebody is out there in a physical store and they want to be a member of the loyalty program, they'll probably have somebody at the store help them who'll be at a computer and they'll punch in the data, and that will be sent back to our loyalty program microservice going through that gateway. That's an example of a command again, register this user, and that's a situation where command really makes sense. There's a human at the other end. We want to know whether it succeeded or failed, so we actually want a synchronous answer. Yes, he's now registered, all good, you can move along now, or well, that failed, you probably have to try again later. We've already sort of talked a lot about these different collaboration styles. Let's look a little bit more at commands and queries. Both of those are synchronous styles of collaboration. They're actually requests that says, do this for me, and I want the answer back that that at least you've accepted the command, and probably also actually want to know if it succeeded, but at least that the other microservice accepts it. With a query, well, you're asking for some data. If we just go back one slide or two slides and look at this again, the API gateway here can also do things like, oh, please give me back the loyalty points for the user. So that's a query. And again, that might be out in the physical store. Maybe somebody comes in off the street and says, here's my card. How many points do I have? Do I have enough for XYZ, whatever you can do with the points? And they can look it up. Go look it up. That's a query, and of course that needs an immediate answer. Doesn't really make sense to not get the answer for a query. So if we're using HTTP for these bits of the API, queries just map to HTTP GET, and I guess there's no surprise there really. And well, it isn't. It's not supposed to be surprising. It's okay that things aren't more complicated than they have to be. We have commands. They tend to map to HTTP post or HTTP put. Sometimes HTTP delete as well if we're like canceling something or actually deleting something or something along those lines. That could be a delete, but oftentimes post or put. So we can post if we're registering a user, and maybe put if we are updating a user. Let's move into the first bit of the demo part here and actually look at something running and some code and stuff. I'll just switch over quickly to the IDE here. We have a solution with the different parts of the example that we've just been looking at. At the center, we have the loyalty program here. I'll just close it again there, which we will look a bit more at, and we'll, in the second half of the demo, we'll implement part of it as well. There's some things left out. Then we also have the notification service, and we have the special offers microservice down here as well. So those are there too. There's stuff missing in the special offers, which we'll implement a little bit later. But they should be able to run. So let's just check that out first real quick. So I'll switch over to I'll actually show you one thing before that. I have a little Docker Compose file here, and the Docker Compose file is, well, a file that allows you to compose more than one Docker image and sort of run them just in one go. So I've containerized, Dockerized the special offers and the notification. The logic program I've kept out of it. I'm just going to run that directly on the command line with just .NET run, because that's actually how I like to develop, that dependencies. Well, I like to do test-driven development, but when I need to run the microservices, I would like to just run it as directly as possible, and then maybe dependencies can be in a Docker container besides that. But there's different ways to set that up. That's kind of my preference. So let's look at the special offers and the notifications for a while as dependencies, and let's try to run them. So it was a Docker Compose file, and it's right here. That Docker Compose file that we just looked at, that's that one that we have right there. And we see again the loyalty program, the notifications, special offers. So I'll just Docker Compose up -d -build. And that should build the notifications and the special offers microservices, and see that's what's going on here and down here. They're building, and then in a little bit they will also start up once they've actually built. Those two shouldn't be too long. Yeah, so they're done doing the .NET build, it looks like now, and they're building the actually image, and now they're starting, and there we go. They should be started now, which we can just check with a Docker PS to list whatever Docker containers I have running. Let's see. Yes, so we have the notifications and we have the special offers, and well, never mind the take home parts, just because that's where we are right here. That's not really that doesn't really mean anything in this context. It's just the notifications and the special offers. Now they already both have some endpoints in them. In the special offers, we have a special offers controller, and all that does is really just allow us to create special offer through an endpoint. The notifications, kind of same thing. That has an endpoint too that allows us to create, well, notifications, sending those commands that we talked about. And they both have Swagger on top of it, so they have this UI. So for the special offers, we just reload this. It's running on localhost port 5000, and it has this this one endpoint that we can access through this Swagger API. which, by the way, just really quick, not that this is really the center of what we're doing. In order to set that up, we have the startup file here. It's just it's a, well, not even sure. I think this is a .NET 5. I haven't updated it to .NET 6, but that wouldn't make that big of a difference. We have the startup, it's just a default web project. And then the startup, we add swagger.gen from the swashbuckle NuGet package, and we say use Swagger and use Swagger UI. And these are the things that's all we need. Then this will actually scan the project or the assembly for controllers. We have one here, special office controller, and that has a single endpoint in here. It's a controller. It has an endpoint with an HTTP post. And that's what we also see here in the UI, and then it just generates that UI, which allows us to call the endpoint. I'm sure many of you already know this, but yeah, that's what it is. We have the special offers here, so we'll use that in a little while. We likewise have the notification service that's running on port 5001, also in the container, and that's also running. And we can post notifications, which we'll do from the loyalty program. And then, so just for debugging, we can call this get endpoint just to see which ones did it receive. It doesn't do anything with these notifications, but the idea would be that this service actually send out like emails or text messages, push notifications maybe even. However, the users needed to be notified. All right, so if we look a little bit at commands and queries, then at the center of the image, or part of the center of the image we had before, well, there was the loyalty program, and it allowed through the API gateway to register users. So let's look at how that's done, and also to query stuff on users. So we have the loyalty program. There's a users folder here. We have a user controller, and well, that's where we implement it. So again, it maps to HTTP GET and HTTP POST for queries and commands, and so that there's no surprise really here. Probably we're using ASP.NET MVC, telling it there's a route of users, so everything in here is relative to that route. Then we have a GET endpoint where it's users/user ID, so it could be like user/500, and you get back the data for user number 500, including the loyalty points, including the name of them, and whatever else we have registered on them. For new users, we can register them with a post. That's just post to/users, that's it. And then in the body of that post, we can have some JSON describing the user. That's what we get by saying from body. It's just something that just means that if there's something in the body of that post request that we can deserialize into a loyalty program user, then we're happy, and we can register that in our, well, quote unquote database. It's called DB here, but actually it's really just an in-memory dictionary behind the scenes. But I think you get the point. This could be a real database that we had behind here, and there could be much more going on. We just willy-nilly register whoever comes in this one. There could be all kinds of checks before we actually register them, depending on your business logic. So, but that's not really the point. The point is, this is a query, get, and this is a command, post, and it really doesn't have to be more complicated than that. All right, so let's just quickly try to run that loyalty program, and I'll just switch to the other tab where I'm just one directory lower, so I'm in the loyalty program, and we'll just say .NET Run, and I'll give it a couple of ports to run on, so it's different from the other ones. And that should start up pretty quickly. There we go. And it's now listening on 5200. So back to the browser, new tab. We'll sort of reload this one as well on 5200. This is looking, and it's the same trick. We have Swagger and that, and you can see stuff happened here in the console. So we're actually getting some log messages. We get the request we kind of expect to index HTML, and then it's loading some Swagger blah 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 in order to set that UI up. So we can see all that. Now we saw the implementation of a command, how to interact with a command. Well, no surprise, we sent the HTTP post. So let's just really quickly just say try it out here, and then Swagger is able to pre-generate the body here, or at least how the body could look. Now the ID we don't have to actually give that, but we could give a name of this user, myself, and we could say I have an interest in nice whiskey, and we could send that along. So this could be used for notifying me that we have a good special offer on some whiskey, and then I might go in there and buy some stuff, and that would be good for business. Now the response here is 201, which means created, and we actually also get a copy of the user back, which I like to do on those created ones. Just have it, and we see the ID is actually here, and that's the very first user we registered, so it gets 0, the next one would get 1, and so on and so forth. So this is how you interact with something with the command. So, or well, doing it by hand. In code, of course, it's the same thing. Do the HTTP post, and you're off to the races. Okay, so those are pretty approachable, the command and the query.